to contrast the red on the guns. It looks really good with these eradicators from Armageddon. And then with this guy, I went ahead and added those seals. You could definitely add a wash, darken those up if you want. I really like how his rope came out. So you can see even with a 20-minute paint job, it does. I was looking at a bunch of Black Templar painting guides, and I sat down, I got my Armageddon box, if you can't see it back there. I started building the models, and I was really taking, you know, once you start building, you realize, hey, am I really going to be able to paint this to the standard that this video is giving me, right? And it usually, I think for a lot of people, the skill is the issue. For me, it's the time. I don't want to sit here, do I want to sit here and paint like 40, 50 models to this paint scheme it's above tabletop standard, but I mean the time shows too. And you know, quality versus quantity. Do you really want every model to be this certain quality, or do you want to go after the quantity? And you could always go back and add quality. I think that's kind of the beautiful thing with miniature painting that people don't talk about enough, especially on painting tutorials, because obviously they're like pros and they want to give you the best possible outcome for the quality. But for me, I just kind of want to show and explain the fact that you can do a tabletop standard paint job, which I'll show you guys in this video, and you can always come back later and go for that higher quality when you have the time to just focus on one model. So that's what I usually do when I paint. I'll usually start with an army batch paint, and then I'll go back and I'll repaint the characters to a better quality. I got a few examples I could show you guys, so we'll go ahead and do that. So I'm actually going to be working on this Black Templar champion because I bought a few characters along with Armageddon, and I feel like this is a good one to do a tutorial on. And I'm just going to work my way from the bottom up. Keep it simple. Dark rust, AK paint on the palette. You know, for batch painting, speed painting, tabletop, simple painting, I got two brushes I'm going to be using. Kind of a bigger brush and a smaller one, the Vallejo medium base. Or not Vallejo, Citadel. The key to batch painting. Now I gotta get some cleaner on here. I don't know if you guys have to do this every time you use your brushes. I do, because it just makes them last longer. But the key to simple batch painting is less is more, you know? I'm only going to use a few paints, but the main way I kind of get the most value out of them is I leave that black in the recesses. And it's like almost, for a lot of the model, it's almost like a hybrid between dry brushing and painting. I'll leave a good amount of the black in there, but I'll paint most of the color above. And it basically preps you for kind of like an edge highlight. You know, for a while they were talking about slap chop, and it's not obviously not slap chop because I don't dry brush it white and just do like that cartoony thing. I don't like that cartoony look, but it's kind of a similar example. You know what? I'm actually going to mix that dark rust. I'd say do 2/3 dark rust, 1/3 black paint. It gives you this nice rusty brown color, and you'll see see if I can get it on camera, that I'm going to paint it in a way where it really pops out the highlights on the skull, the highlights on the terrain, and just getting a good, I guess you can call it a dry brush, but I wouldn't call it a dry brush because I'm still getting most of the base done. And you know what, these have this guy has a cape, so you can see for the base, that's all I'm doing right there. That's it. I'll probably go pick out the orc bones because I'm making it Hell's Reach themed, so I'm gonna have a bunch of orc bodies. And even looking at the model, the other thing that I'm going to need a good dark brown paint for is the robes. I have the ivory I'm going to be using on the shoulder pads, and I'm going to use that same ivory for this cape. And right now it's okay if I get a tiny bit of that brown. It's got a belt too, I'm going to get that. You got a tiny bit of brown. You know what, this is going to be gold, there's a little halo. Get a tiny bit of brown on the marine because I'm gonna go. I would also recommend using this brown for the little pouches for the gun, like this pouch here. But this AK set, there's a dark rust, a medium rust, and a light rust. I use those paints a lot. I am a big fan of those three paints. If you can go to the store. Now you see how this one I'm painting right now is the original color. It doesn't have as much black in there. If you want to, you can go back to the base you did before and you could pick out the orc and sort of just do an edge highlight on the orc face. Gives it a little more, makes it stand out a little more compared to the rest of the model. 2 thin coats. Those ribbons, I'm not gonna bother base coating. I should, but I don't like this brush. But I'm gonna do it anyways. Let's see if I can get it. Brush control is a big deal. It's kind of hard with this brush because I've used this brush so many times. It doesn't have that tip anymore. But just get what you can. It's okay if you leave parts of it black. It's okay if it's only one coat and it's not like the perfect. There's a chain here. I'm gonna go ahead and get that brown on that. And then the hilt, I think I'm going to paint that red. I'm going to get a little brown on that. All of that. And you could see how even with just one color, you've already kind of got a lot going on with the details. Step 2, I'm going to be highlighting the armor with, so what I'll do is I'll do ProAcryl Payne's Gray. I love this color. It's like a dark gray blue, but it registers way more like a black gray than the blue, but the blue tint, it just looks nice. If you see the color in person, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's just a hint of blue, and I feel like the hint of blue actually makes it a nicer sort of gray black. So what I do with this is, let's actually mix it. Let's do another situation where it's half or 1/3 black, 2/3 gray. Of course, this dropper bottle gives me problems as soon as I start a video. Very confusing. So let's do 1/3 black, 2/3 gray to give the black more depth. I mean, if you really want to do a base paint scheme, you could keep it and let's just go over the top. See, this is where if you got brown on the armor like I did a little bit, you can just go over it. And you don't have to keep things precise, you know. Precision is what I think makes miniatures look good. So you don't need that many paints, but if you keep all your paint precise, then I think it'll stand out. But let's just go over all the armor. And this will be our shading. This will be our edge highlight. This guy's got a chain on his arm, I just noticed, so I'm gonna hit that with a brown and a gold later. Now let's make sure we get this all over the helmet. I'm not really too worried about the crest because I'm gonna paint metal on the crest. I'm really just trying to get the black armor dialed in now. With the Payne's Gray, 2/3 black, 1/3 combo. Maybe it could be a quarter black. I just don't go full Payne's Gray because I do like that dark color. Keep the armor dark. And then for all my other models, which I'll probably do on this one as well, once this paint layer dries, I'll go back and I'll do the pure Payne's Gray and I'll kind of like edge highlight with it. Give this a second to dry and we'll start recording again. Alright, right now I've got my big brush. Actually, I'm going to go lower on the brush size. So here's the 3 paints I've used so far. Black, blue gray black, dark rust. And right now you can use ivory or bright ivory. I actually have bright ivory in my palette, but ivory will work fine. And I'm going to pick out a couple more details with a smaller brush. So first, we got this camera right in place. Be very precise and get the eyes. If you get a little on the armor itself, which I did, you just go back and you fix it up with your gray, which actually makes like a nice highlight on the armor too. It's kind of just the natural way things work. But then you clean your brush, get some paint on there, and we're going to work our way over the shoulder as well. This is where you're going to want to be as precise as possible and use more layers of paint. If you're going black on white or white on black, you're going to want 3 layers of paint. You're going to want to let your paint dry, because when you're painting Space Marines especially, I feel like the tidiness is what kind of brings it all together. I like to do wear and tear on my Marines, but for this tutorial we're just going to do the basic look, the basic feel. And I'm sure you guys can tell in the video that just a little bit of white paint on the shoulder, leaving that logo exposed. With normal Marines, you wouldn't have to worry about this getting around that logo, because you'll just have a decal. But that's what it looks like to start. Look at the whole model, and yeah, it's crazy how even a few colors really brings it together. I'm gonna clean my brush. So you want to give your models a minute to dry, and when you do, clean your brush, add a little more paint. Plan your next step. Make that eye color stronger. Make it so you can see the eyes are really starting to pop out. Add that second layer. As you add the layers, look at the logo and kind of, you can tell you're getting little smidges of white where you don't want it. Just kind of make a mental note that you're going to go back and clean that up with your black gray. Like right there, I just hit the corners of that logo. And without a doubt, I want to keep the logo clean. I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure this is the Imperial Fist logo, but I'm doing a Black Templar army. And I guess Black Templar are like the poster child of the Imperial Fist. I've seen online they joke around, it's like the only successor chapter that people love more than the original. I gotta agree, when I stumbled across Black Templar lore, I really like when people modify the model too, with candles and extra ribbons and all that, so it almost looks religious. They're supposed to be like the religious Marines. The incel Marines, I've seen that, that's pretty funny. Yeah, that's while drying. I'm going back again with the black gray, tidying a few things up. Made another smidge with the black, so I'm going to clean my brush. Blue gray. This time I got more blue. I'm going to kind of highlight the fist, highlight the knuckles. Oh, I need the white now. Grab the white. Little smidges I just made, let's clean it up. Yeah, the name of the game is brush control. He who controls the brush shall paint the best mini. That's how I'd put it. And patience with your paint and the layers. And there's tricks. Like I bought this one pre-built on eBay, but I'm sure a lot of people do a sub-assembly and would prime the shoulder white. I think that would save you some time. But I'm just taking this from the approach of just a hobby painter who has some experience and is just saving time, showing you guys the basics. And then you see the white on the eyes. I have a Mephiston red. You can use Evil Scarlet's red. You could use a Monument Basic red. You could use the Flesh Tears red I have here, or the ProAcryl Burnt Red. I'm actually going to add a little of the burnt red to the bright red for the eyes. And here's where you really don't want to mess up. Just get the red on that white. You can see the white through the red, which is a nice look. And then you can see where I got too much white on the armor. Let's get you in the... Let's see if I can get that. See how it's got that Space Marine eyes look? Go ahead and get your little bit of black and just clean up those edges. You know, this is still fast, but what's gonna make this model look good, especially compared to a lot of people's models out there you'll see in the hobby game, is how clean it is. You want to keep your models clean. Alright. The next step here is going to be my metal. This one bottle of Vallejo metal, it's like a gun metal, or it's called steel. Man, I've had this model since I started hobbying. 6 years ago. That big ball's last me was through a lot of models. But anyways, I mixed that. I would start off with that metal, but I actually mixed it with a brighter metal because I already had one in my palette. I think and then you're gonna go, and this is kind of like a nice small stiff brush is good for this. You're gonna just add little chips in the armor. Like there I messed up, but you'd be surprised at how non-noticeable a lot of these mistakes will be. Oh, I think that's actually part of that. Yeah, where I got the metal just there, that's actually part of the ribbon, so I gotta go back and do that. Add it to the chain so I can see it a little better. And just that little tiny bit of wear on the armor actually makes a big difference on the table. And get these little bolts, make it pop out a little bit. Really don't know what those studs are for. I kind of get a little more around the vents. And then I always do a little booster around the rim of the booster, in the booster. A couple marks on there. These little things here. You can do a grenade here and there. Later I might go back and do heraldry there. But I'm just picking out various details the sword. I'm gonna keep this video short, so I'm just gonna do a basic sword. But if you wanted to go back in, you can see I'm not completely doing, I'm doing kind of like a dry brush style method. Just keeping it simple. I would like to go in with the white on the letters and then do a blue in there, but make sure you clean your brush really nice. I'm gonna go back and get this ribbon done. And then actually the same ivory, no, I'm gonna mix the brown and the ivory. To get a bone color. If you have a bone paint, you can just use a bone paint. It's fine. And then just go over the robes. And this is gonna look like what do you call that? Oh, slap choppy. And then this I'm doing like a, I think they call it a rough sketch, because this is like a really bright. And then once this bright rough sketch dries, I'm gonna go in with more with the bone color, or you could use a contrast paint. Pick that out. Although even as is, if you really wanted to just keep that rough look, it really doesn't. It looks good on the tabletop. I think I'll actually keep this the way it is, blend it in a little bit, but keep those recesses in there. But just go back and blend it all in. Now for the gold, because I want to get that buckle. I don't want to forget. I should have added this in the first part. Scale 75. I love this color, the old gold they call it. It's almost like a half gold, half bronze. And of course, it's dried up. If you want to change the color of the gold, you can add a little brown to your gold. Go for more of that copper look. In my my non-professional experience, I should say, keeping it dark is always safe. I feel like dark paints make your model pop more, because then when you do that highlight, a little highlight goes a long way, as long as the rest of the model's dark. And people know what they're looking at. So we got the chain. I gotta get those wax seals. I gotta remember that. I'm gonna do a couple little edges over here, not the whole thing, for that little lantern. Absolutely want to do the crown. And with this, because I already have the brown there, it'll be like a Ooh. The half paint, half dry brush method. Now for the crown, you're gonna want the brighter the better, I think. More layers too, because that's going to be the focus point of the model. When you see it on the table, you're just going to see the crown on top. Go back, get the buckle. I used to love using washes, but you know what, the longer I paint, I don't know, I tend to stay away. Let's get the chain on the sword. It's amazing how many little details there are with these miniatures. How many little seals there are, how many little bags and doodads. And you know what? I'm actually going to stop the video right there, because if you can see, even with just those 4 or 5 colors, it's a good looking model. I'll show you guys the eradicators I did from Armageddon. That's what the seals look like. You use a dark red and then the same bone color for those. But yeah, very simple, straightforward. If you're not filming, if you kind of getting that I need to go over with the ivory. If you just get the feel for what you're doing, get in the zone, you get a bunch of models prepped, you can literally paint your models in like 10-15 minutes each. Pretty decent standard. Go do your details later. Another quick little note for the end. So I took that original rust, I went ahead and did an edge highlight on the orc bones, and I add green tufts to contrast the red on the guns. It looks really good with these eradicators from Armageddon. And then with this guy, I went ahead and added those seals. You could definitely add a wash, darken those up if you want. I really like how his robe came out. But you can see even with a 20-minute paint job, it turns out pretty good on the table. So yeah, this is my sort of speed paint style. Like I was saying before, you can go in, do way more details. Honestly, this is pretty much good for the tabletop. So yeah, finish your models, enjoy your games, move on with your life. Plenty of things to do, you know. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys learned some things. Peace.